Ellis podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Clean-shaven Jamie Ellis. Yes, a clean-shaven Jamie Ellis coming at you. So I don't look like the picture of my graphic right now, but was just getting tired of hearing, really, my wife Jill just say, you've got to shave, you look horrible. Even cut my hair a little bit. I cleaned up. I feel good. I feel fresh. It's spring. It's a renewal. Feels like the right thing to do. So today, we're going to cover a couple things. Number one, I want to go through my Week 2 MLB Power Ratings. A lot going on. There's a lot of parity right now, which is interesting, but I still saw some teams make some moves this week that I feel might be legitimate. Some of them went one way, some of them went the other. So I want to talk about that and go through my my power rankings. So that's first. Number two, I'm always thinking about ways to make baseball better. Yes, they've made some changes the last couple of years. It's been really good changes. The shift being banned, the bigger bases to lead to more stolen bases, the pitch clock. This year, ABS, I think it's been great. The automated balls and strikes where you can challenge a call. I think that's been really, it's brought a lot to the game. Yes, there's an issue with umpires and credibility and things like that. I get it. But honestly, is it any different than instant replay? I don't think it is. Really good stuff going on, but I have this harebrained idea that I want to throw out there and get some reaction to it. So we'll talk about that. And then non-baseball topic, AEW had a pay-per-view last night, AEW Dynasty, and I just want to mix in a couple thoughts on it. I watched the pay-per-view and I thought it was really interesting and just want to comment on it. So that's all coming to you today. Please, please, please subscribe to the podcast, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Click subscribe. And if you like the podcast, give each one a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. That allows more people to see it, gets more attention, gets more people drawn to it. So appreciate all of you that have done that, but let's get those numbers up. So would appreciate your help there. Number two, follow me on social media at TellusEllisHQ on Instagram and on X, and email me if you have questions, especially today when I'm asking about your thoughts on this harebrained idea I have. Either put it in the comments section on YouTube, Instagram, or YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Just add your comments on it. I would appreciate that. And then if you want to join the show or have questions, just email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. So with that, let's get into our power rankings for Week 2 in Major League Baseball. Okay, right now on the screen, you have my Week 1 power rankings. And again, Week 1 incorporated really 1.5 weeks, those first 1.5 weeks of the season. But this is where we ended Week 1. Now I want to make the changes for Week 2, and I'll go over it starting with the bottom tier teams and starting with number 30, Colorado. The Rockies, I kept them where they are. The Rockies are 6-10 right now. Last week, they actually didn't play that poorly. They were 3-4 overall. I still think they're the worst team in baseball. So we'll leave the Rockies at number 30. The Nationals come in at number 29, and I am leaving them at 29. The Nationals, I think there's some young talent starting to emerge there, which is really good to see, but they still have a ways to go. They still have a farm system that needs to develop, and I just cannot see this as a team that is going to make a lot of headway this year. The Nationals last week, they were 4-2. They had a really good week, but again, not enough to make me move them. Same thing with the White Sox. They're my 28th team. Last week, they're my 28th team this week. The White Sox were 2-5 last week. No need to move them. St. Louis has been kind of my MLB extra innings team this year. I've really enjoyed watching them. They've got some good young talent. Jordan Walker's finally hitting the ball really well. They've been a little bit surprising. Now, I say all of that. The Cardinals are 8-7. They're not blowing people away, but they've been surprisingly competitive. And this may be a team that's a little more competitive than I thought. That said, I'm not moving them right now. They were 3-3 last week. I'm going to keep them at number 27. My first change comes at number 26, and I'm going to move the Twins out of number 26, and I'm going to slide the Angels back to number 26. The Angels are also a team that's really interesting and kind of fun to watch. Joe Adell had some home run saving catches, which in the same game, which if you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, this guy robbed, I think it was 3 home runs in one game. and it was amazing. Again, the Angels, they were 3-3 last week. They're still going to struggle. I have them in this 25th spot or 26th spot. I think they're going to struggle this year, but they've been a little more fun to watch than I thought. A team that has not been as fun to watch, and I didn't really think they would, is the San Francisco Giants. I'm actually going to slide them back a spot. The Giants are 6-10 right now, and they've really been struggling. Last week, the Giants were actually, I think they played okay last week. They were 3-3. But this is a team that's trying to find themselves, and they're just not able to find themselves, and I think they're going to struggle, and I'm going to keep them in this bottom tier. The number 24 team, I'm going to take the Marlins and move them back. Again, it's a fun team to watch, another MLB Extra Innings team. I don't even know if it's called Extra Innings anymore now that ESPN has it, all the games, but I'm still going to call it MLB Extra Innings. They're a fun team to watch. They had a rough week last week. They went 2-5. That brings them to 8-8 for the season, which has actually been surprisingly competitive. But they started to show their colors a bit last week. I'm going to bump them back to 24th, 8-8. They're dropped back 3 spots for the week. Number 23, this is where I'm going to put the Twins. So, look, I am not a believer in Minnesota. I'm keeping them in the bottom tier. I am moving them to the 24th spot. And that is up 3 spots from last week. When a team goes 6-1, you've got to give them a little bit of love. And I still think the Twins are broken. You look at the fundamental statistics, they're not really hitting the ball. They're not really pitching that well. But they went 6-1 last week, and I've got to give them a little bit of love and credit here. So I put the Twins at 23rd. By the way, 6-1 last week, and that was 6-1 against the Tigers and Blue Jays. So 2 playoff teams, including the American League pennant champion Blue Jays, and a Tigers team that I thought was going to be kind of a runaway to win that Central Division. They went 6-1 against them. Again, I've got to give them credit. The number 22 team now. It's not the A's. I'm moving the A's out of that spot, and I'm actually going to move the Guardians back here. And Guardians fans, I can hear you booing already. That takes the Guardians down 2 spots to number 22. The Guardians, it's not that they played poorly last week. They were 3-3. But this is a team that just screams ambivalent and average and not a good MLB Extra Innings team to watch. They did get off to that good start to the season, playing pretty well in Seattle, but I think this is a bottom tier team. I'm moving them to the bottom tier. I've got them at number 22. Now, number 21, I'm going to move the Tampa Bay Rays to 21, and that is coming off of a week in which they swept the Yankees, and that is meaningful to me. When you sweep the Yankees in the American League East, and you're now tied for first with the Yankees and the Orioles, that's meaningful to me. So I moved the Rays up 2 spots, still in the bottom tier. I'm still not saying this is a playoff team. I'm still not a complete believer yet, but I had to give them some love. So they come in at number 21. All right, number 20. I'm taking the Royals and I'm moving them back to number 20. The Royals on the season are 7-9. This is moving them back 4 spots. In a week when they only went 3-4, that may feel very punitive to them, but I'm just not getting the vibe of this team yet. I'm worried about their pitching a little bit now. I worry about the health of their pitching, and they need to be healthy in order to have a really good season. So I do worry about that with them a little bit, and I'm not seeing the hitting coming from them that I thought I would. Carter Jensen's hitting the ball. Beyond that, it's been a little bit weak. Cole Reagan's had some issues this week. I think he's okay, but all things have to hit for them to work, and I'm not feeling it. So I moved the Royals back to the number 20 spot. That's 4 places. That does seem dramatic. Yell at me if you want, Royals fans. It's just how I feel. If the Royal fans are going to yell at me, there is no doubt in my mind that the Houston Astros are going to yell at me, their fans, because I'm moving the Astros from the 11th spot all the way back to the 19th spot. Jamie, that is unfair. How could you be so punitive? Well, number one, the Astros went 0-6 this week, okay? That's not good. And it's a small sample size, I get it. But not only did they go 0-6 this week, they've lost 9 of their last 10, okay? They were swept in 4 games against Seattle, at Seattle. Fair enough, Seattle's a good team. But then they get swept by Colorado in 3 games, and they lose 2 of 3 against the Athletics. That, to me, tells me something's not right with this team. When they had Framber Valdez, they had a stopper in there that could stop losing streaks because he would go out there and pitch, and they don't have that anymore. They too have had their share of issues health-wise, and that's very concerning to me. I think that Hunter Brown having some health issues, Christian Javier having some health issues, Lance McCullers Jr. is a health issue waiting to happen. I am very, very skeptical of this Astros team, and that was a big move to move them back as far as I did, but I'm just not seeing it. I think it's legitimate. Yes, they're not in the bottom tier. They're in the next to bottom tier. That's where I have them. All right. So number 18 then. I'm going to move the Diamondbacks out, and I'm actually going to move the Oakland Athletics into this spot. So for Oakland, that's a nice little jump up of plus 4 spaces. Why is that? Well, they went 5-1 against the Yankees and Mets last week, and that's meaningful. They got off to a slow start, but I still think this is a team that can hit, especially at home. Can they pitch? That's the big question. I think keeping them in this position is a good spot for them. I'm not saying they're a playoff team even, but I think they have been very impressive, especially in the last week. So that feels right to me. Number 17, I am going to put the Rangers at number 17. And for the Rangers, that is a change of plus 2. The Rangers last week, they went 4-2. More importantly, the Rangers are now 8-7 on the year, and I am starting to feel a certain vibe from them, a positive vibe of some of their young players. They're 8-7. It's not the end of the this doesn't guarantee success by any means, but I feel a little bit better about them right now. So again, not in a playoff spot necessarily, but next to bottom tier, but moved them up a couple of spots. All right, number 16, I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks then. The Diamondbacks, that's plus 2 for them. They're 9-7. They were 4-2 last week. Again, not saying they're a playoff team, but they could be a fringy team. They could be an 81 to 82 to 83 win team. They're playing my Orioles right now, and as I'm recording this, and all of my stuff, by the way, is through yesterday, Sunday. I'm recording this on a Monday. Orioles are playing right now. They're losing to the Diamondbacks 4-1, damn it. But I think Arizona is a decent team. They kind of, Texas and Arizona played in the World Series a couple of years ago, and I see a lot of similarities between those two teams. So having them side by side, that just feels right to me. So the Diamondbacks at 16. Number 15, I am actually going to move the Orioles back a spot. And my Oriole fans and my family might say, Jamie, what the heck are you doing? That's not fair. That doesn't seem fair. The Orioles last week had a really good week. They went 5-1, but it didn't, it was against the White Sox and against the Giants. And I still don't feel good about them. Kyle Bradish isn't pitching very well. They have a lot of injuries on the hitting side. Jackson Holliday is still out. Mountcastle to the IL. It's just been a little bit of a struggle for them. They're tied for first right now. Maybe I'm being overly hard on them because I'm a fan, but right now I have them at that 15th spot. All right, 14th, the San Diego Padres. This is a big move for the Padres. The Padres had a good week. They went 6-1. The Padres are now 10-6 for the year. I think they deserve moving up 7 spots because right now they're telling me they want to be competitive in the playoff race. Something I didn't see forthcoming, and there are a couple injury concerns that they're looking into right now. Hopefully they're not serious, but it's on the pitching side. But the Padres impressed me last week. Again, I'm not saying they're a playoff team right now, but I think they're showing me something. And again, on the season, they're 10-6. All right, so who is my 13th team then? And I'm going to tell you that I'm moving the Detroit Tigers back to 13. I hate to keep saying injuries, but injuries is part of it. The Tigers are 7-9 now. The Tigers went 3-4 last week. I really thought they would run away with this division. I thought they would come out a house of fire. I'm not seeing that. McGonagall's been a really good story as a rookie playing for them. Framber Valdez had a bad start in there. He toughed it out, but it wasn't a great start for him. Jack Flaherty still, I have him on my fantasy team, and it's like I'm almost ready to drop him. I don't know. I still think they should win this division. I haven't seen much out of Kansas City, and quite frankly, when I look at the other teams in this division, the Guardians don't really do anything. Certainly, the White Sox don't really do anything for me. So, I don't know. Could the Twins be surprising? I really don't think so. So I'm going to put them here, which is like right on the cusp of what I'll call a playoff spot, but I had to move them back. They just have not impressed me. So Tigers come in at 13. Who's number 12? Well, I'm going to keep the Red Sox right where they are at number 12. And yes, they are 6-9 right now. They went 4-2 last week, which was a big step forward. I think their best baseball is ahead of them. I think they are going to right the ship, and I'm not moving them at all right now. I'm keeping them right where they are. Even though the Rays and Orioles are ahead of them and tied for first, I still think Boston is better than both of those teams. Number 11, I am going to go with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Call me a fan of the Pirates. It's hard not to root for a team like this that has struggled for so long. Look, the Pirates only went 3-3 last week, but they are winning their division. They're 9-6. Connor Griffin, a lot of excitement around him. They're getting key contributions from some of these free agent signings that they made. I think it's a fun team, an interesting team, an MLB extra innings team. I have the Pirates at the 11th spot. Maybe I'm giving them a little too much credit, but that's where I like them. Number 10, I'm going to keep the Reds right where they are. I like the Reds, another good MLB extra innings team. The Reds are now 9-7. They are a half game behind Pittsburgh. And the Reds last week, I think they played about 500. Let me see. They went 3-4 last week. But I think this is a team that's finding it out. And I'm going to tell you, Milwaukee, Chicago, be careful. These are teams that are going to sneak up on you if you're not careful. And I really like what the Pirates and Reds bring. So I've got the Reds in at number 10. Number 9, a big jump, the Atlanta Braves. I worry about the Braves, especially with their pitching. We talked about it in all the lead up to the season. I think that the Braves are, it hurts that they've lost a couple of their pitchers for a good part of the season. That said, the Braves right now are 10-6. The Braves went 4-2 last week. They're getting their business done. They're hitting the ball well. They're pitching well. And I had to give them credit and gave them a big leap. That is a +8 game leap. But, look, when you look at the standings right now in that National League East, the Braves are 10-6. They have a 2-game lead over the Marlins, 2.5 over the Phillies, 2.5 over the Nationals, and now 3 over the Mets. Again, I'm going to go with it for now. We'll see if it lasts. So that is the Atlanta Braves. Number 8, I'm going to keep the Mets right where they are. I'm not going to move the Mets. The Mets are 7-9. I get that. The Mets went 1-5 last week. I get that. People are going to go crazy. What do you want me to do with them? because I'm not convinced that they're worse than Atlanta right now. Atlanta's surprising me, but I'm not convinced they're worse than Atlanta. Certainly not convinced they're worse than Cincinnati or Pittsburgh. I'm not convinced they're worse than Boston. So I'm keeping them right where they are. Despite a bad week, I still have faith in this team. I'm keeping them right where they are. All right. That's the Mets. I'm moving the Blue Jays back. Okay. I'm going to move them back to the 7 spot. They're 6-9, and the Blue Jays went 2-4 last week, and they're just showing some grogginess, some hangover from being American League pennant winners last year. And I feel comfortable moving them back. Are they still competitive? Absolutely. This is a top 12 team. They're gonna fight their tails off or feathers off to win the division. Right now, though, they're just struggling a bit, and I'm going to move them back a little bit. All right. So number 6, then. I'm going to move the Yankees to number 6. And why am I giving the Yankees credit in a week when they struggled mightily? The Yankees this past week went 1-5 and struggled against Oakland and then got swept by Tampa. I still love this team's pitching. Cam Schlittler came back down to earth a little bit, but I still love this team's pitching. They have pitching that is going to be added soon. Injured pitchers that are going to come back soon. I like this team's offense. They are an extra inning team to me as well. Fun to watch. Do not tell anybody I said that. But I have them in my top 6, and they're number 6 for me right now. Number 5, I'm going to put the Phillies there, and I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, okay? Because you look at the Phillies right now, and it's a team that is 7-8. They went 2-4 last week, and people are really scratching their heads probably saying, why are you putting the Phillies here? And I just don't think that they're worse than the teams behind them right now. I'm not convinced. The Yankees had a bad week. The Blue Jays had a bad week. So why would I move the Phillies behind them for having a better record last week than those two teams? The Mets had a bad week. I'm not going to move the Phillies behind the Mets. The Phillies had a better week. The Braves had a really good week. Do I think they're better than the Phillies right now? No. So I'm keeping the Phillies where they are. And this is where it's going to get controversial because I'm keeping the Cubs, Mariners, Brewers, and Dodgers exactly where they are. Everybody would agree that the Dodgers should be number 1. They're the best team in baseball. They're 11-4 record-wise. Everybody will agree with that. What they won't agree with is, why are you keeping the Brewers where they are? They went 1-5 last week. Why are you keeping the Mariners where they are? The Mariners were 3-3 last week, but overall the Mariners are 8-9. So why are you keeping them there? And then why in the heck are you keeping the 7-8 Cubs there? And the Cubs went 3-3 last week as well. I'm going to say it again because I think they're better than the teams behind them, period. End of story. And I'm not going to move them back just because they had a bad week. There are some teams I can move back and say, not only did they have a bad week, but I think they are I think they're worse than the teams behind them, so I'm going to move them back. I can't say that about the Brewers, Mariners, or Cubs right now. Are they on watch? Absolutely. If they continue to struggle, I'll have every reason to move them back, and I'll do it. But I'm not going to do it right now. I might move the Orioles back though because they're down now 7-1 to Arizona, which is just freaking fantastic. So yeah, that's just how I feel, and that's where my teams are for week 2, and we are just going to leave it at that. Okay, so I want to talk about this harebrained idea that I have, and you're going to have to follow me closely on this. If you're a baseball fan, I truly want your feedback on this. Again, baseball has made a lot of great changes the last couple of years. Not allowing the infield shift, I think, protected the integrity of hitters that pull the ball. And you can say that baseball is about making adjustments. And hey, if you're going to shift, then hitters need to go the other way better. it wasn't happening and it was making the game worse. So I really like that. I liked increasing the sizes of the bases to get more stolen bases. I think that's been great. I think the pitch clock has been excellent. It has sped up games more than anything baseball has done. And that is good for baseball. It draws fans in. They don't have to sit there for 4.5 hours, 5 hours. I would sit there anyway, but those that are kind of on the fence fans, I guess. I want to run a topic by you, and my goal is to make baseball as competitive as possible. And while I think a salary cap would really help baseball, this is an idea that maybe you could do without a salary cap to make things a little more even and a little more equitable, even though you have teams paying a lot of money in payroll and teams paying very little money in payroll. The Dodgers' payroll is $375 million. The Marlins' payroll is $75 million. So here's my idea. Promotion and relegation. Not in the way that you probably think. I'm not talking about minor league teams here. Soccer, European soccer, has had success with promotion and relegation for 100 years plus, over 100 years. The concept is you have divisions, and those divisions stand alone. And if you finish very high in your division, you get promoted to the next best division. If you finish very low in your division, you get relegated back to a division. And what happens then in soccer is you have the Premier League, which is the top division in soccer, most competitive, best soccer players. The next division is a step down. The next division is a step down from that. And soccer's got, if you go through the pyramid structure in European soccer and English soccer, it is 10, 11, 12 layers deep, maybe even deeper than that. Here's my idea, all right? I think you take the 30 teams in Major League Baseball and you break those 30 teams into 3 set groupings, okay? You have a gold group, you have a silver group, and you have a bronze group. I'm not sure how you would set those teams in those groupings at first. Maybe you do something like, hey, for this first year, we're going to take the American League East and National League East and put them in the gold. We're going to take the American League West and National League West and put them in the silver, and the American League Central and National League Central and put them in the bronze grouping. The first year really shouldn't matter. They are just put into these groupings. Maybe you don't even call it gold, silver, or bronze at first because that might be a misnomer out of the gates. But you put those teams into 3 different groupings of 10. The playoffs. The top 4 teams in the gold division or gold grouping make the playoffs. The top 4 divisions in the silver grouping make the playoffs, and the top 3 teams in the bronze division make the playoffs. Again, that first year, that might not seem fair. Why you're only giving one division 3 playoff spots and the other 2 you're giving them 4. I get that. We'll figure out the details later. In addition to those teams making the playoffs, the top 4 teams in the gold grouping make the playoffs. Great. The top 4 teams in the silver grouping not only make the playoffs, but they get promoted to gold for next season, which means the bottom 4 teams in gold then get demoted to the silver grouping, okay, the next season. Bronze, there's 3 playoff teams, and those 3 playoff teams also get promoted to silver next season, and the bottom 3 teams in silver get demoted to bronze for the next season, okay? So, and by the way, I said set it up initially, maybe you do it by American League and National League East, get one grouping, and etc. You could also make it regional at first. You could make it based on market size at first. That would be very interesting. In fact, I'd like that the best. Get the big market teams in gold, middle market teams in silver, bottom market, low market teams in bronze. What does this do over time? So let's say you start with the lowest market, the 10 smallest markets in baseball, and put them in the bronze division. And let's just go through who those teams could be. I've not looked at this, but let's say I'm just going to pull out a couple here. The Miami Marlins. And I say small market, you might say Miami's not a small market. Maybe even just say, how are they drawing? I don't know. But The Marlins could be in there. The White Sox could be in there. Again, not a small market, so maybe I'm going more just based on recent success. You could put the Rockies in there. The Royals are certainly a smaller market team. I think the Tigers could be considered a smaller market team. The Reds could be in there. The Guardians could be in there. The Pirates could be in there. The Rays could be in there. So you get the drift. If we did it by market size, some of those smaller market teams would be in there. But it guarantees that out of those 10 small market teams, 3 of them are going to make the playoffs. That builds excitement. That gives a reason for fans to come out and root for your team. Even though I'm in a small market and in our traditional system, I'm a Cincinnati Reds team that doesn't have the payroll opportunities like the Yankees or like the Dodgers. But now I'm in this grouping where I can spend similar to that grouping and I get a better chance to make the playoffs. Okay? So that's my idea. I think you could weight the scheduling to play. Yes, you want to play every team in baseball, but play most of your games against your grouping. Okay? But you still want those big market teams to come into town. So you want, if I'm the Royals, I still want the Yankees to come in. I still want the Dodgers to come in because that's going to draw excitement and draw the fan base in. But in addition to that, being competitive in that bronze league, that bronze grouping would also be very attractive. So I think it creates more competition, more playoff opportunity. And let's say the Royals make the playoffs. Once you get into a 5-game series or 7-game series, anything can happen. And you would have a chance for Royals to win the World Series. You would have a chance for the Guardians to win the World Series. Probably a better chance than they would have today. Now, you may say, okay, Jamie, I added that up. 4 teams in gold, 4 teams in silver, 3 teams in bronze make the playoffs. That's 11 teams. There's 12 playoff teams today. What are you doing? Well, I'm reserving 1 playoff spot. Here's my next part of this harebrained scheme. I think in the middle of the season, you take a break and create an in-season tournament. Okay? Every team is part of this in-season tournament. You take a break sometime in early June, and my idea for this tournament is that I am going to have regionally based 5-team divisions. I'm going to have, and I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to have a Northeast division, the Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, and Orioles. I'm going to have a Southeast division, Nationals, Braves, Rays, Marlins, and Astros. I'm going to have a Rust Belt region, the Blue Jays, not really Rust Belt, but Blue Jays, Tigers, Pirates, Guardians, and Reds. I'm going to have the Midwest with the Brewers, Cubs, White Sox, Royals, and Cardinals. I'm going to have the Southwest with the Dodgers, Angels, Padres, Diamondbacks, and Rangers. And I'm going to have the Northwest with the Mariners, Athletics, Giants, Twins, and Rockies. Now, within these divisions, you are going to play 2 home games and 2 away games against every team in your division. Okay, so let's say I'm the Orioles, and I am in this Northeast division. So somewhere around June 1st, I'm going to play 2 games at the Phillies, 2 games at the Mets, 2 games at the Yankees, 2 games at the Red Sox, and then I'm going to play 2 games at home against the Phillies, 2 games at home against the Mets, 2 games at home against the Yankees, 2 games at home against the Red Sox. The winner of that division after those 8 games is going to make a knockout round. Okay? They're going to make a knockout round. So let's say the Orioles win their division. They are going to go to a knockout round. I'm going to take the 6 division winners plus 2 wild cards, and those are the 8 teams that are going to go to the knockout round. Okay? Pretty standard tournament format. I might consider, instead of doing 2 and 2, I might consider doing 4 and 4, so you get 16 games out of that initial round. It would allow for more clarity in who's going to win each of these divisions. One thing about the NBA in-season tournament is I think they play 8 games, and there's tiebreakers that come into it. I would like to avoid tiebreakers if possible. Okay, so you go through this first tournament. Those 8 teams make the knockout round. Now, what I would want to do is that the 22 teams that do not make the knockout round, I'm going to have them play an additional 2-game series against an opponent drawn at random. And then I'm going to give them one more game, which I'll get to in a second. That way, if we have a 16-game tournament in your division plus the knockout round, everybody is going to play 19 games in this tournament. And I get there by taking those 22 teams that aren't in the knockout, and I give them 2 randomly drawn games. Here's the best part. I told you that those 22 teams that don't make the knockout tournament are going to play 2 games against a randomly drawn opponent. But then they're going to play 1 game against another randomly drawn opponent. Just 1 game. And the week of the 4th of July, we are going to go to a centralized location, a host city. Okay? And those 22 teams will play 11 games in what I'm calling a 4th of July baseball bash week. So they're going to go to this host city and they're going to play their games. In addition, that host city is going to hold this knockout tournament. And all of this is going to start on a Tuesday and it's going to end on a Sunday. So here's what it's going to look like. You're going to go in on Tuesday, and the non-knockout teams are going to play these 11 games. And you're going to get, let's say it's at Yankee Stadium. You're going to get to go for 1 ticket. You're going to get to see baseball galore for virtually a whole week, and you're going to get to see every team in baseball play. It's going to start on Tuesday, where you're going to have 4 games starting at 8 a.m. because we want to give it a little league feel. We want to get the kids out there. We're going to start at 8 a.m. and we're going to have a game at 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. Okay? Again, these are the non-knockout teams. On Friday, that's on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you're also going to get 4 games. Non-knockout teams. 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., 8 p.m. Those non-knockout teams, they're not going to play anything on Friday, and I'll tell you why in a second. But on Saturday, we're going to finish those non-knockout team games by playing 3 games on Saturday, noon, 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. You get to see every team in baseball. The knockout round is going to start on Thursday, okay? And you are going to have 4 games in this knockout round on Thursday, and it's going to be a huge draw because this is for a playoff spot. Remember, this is going to get this 12th playoff team. 4 games on Friday or on Thursday for the knockout round, 8 a.m., noon, 4 p.m., and 8 p.m. Friday, there's going to be 2 games, the semifinals at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Those knockout teams are going to have off on Saturday, and then there's going to be a Sunday 8 p.m. finale for this team that's going to be guaranteed a playoff spot. That should build excitement. That should get people to this centralized location. Heck, Major League Baseball could have teams bid on the location if they want. Miami was great for the World Baseball Classic. You could bid on it. So, awesome stuff. By the way, it's 7-6 now, Arizona. The Orioles just scored 5 runs. I'm excited again. Jeremiah Jackson just hit a grand slam. All right. Jamie, that's great. I get to go see this knockout tournament. That's exciting. But why do I care about these other teams? And what do they really care? What are they playing for? They're not playing for anything. Not so fast. The knockout teams are going to play for a playoff spot. The non-knockout teams are going to get protection against relegation. Now, let's say you have a non-knockout team that is winning their division in the regular season, and they're not going to get relegated. What do they care? Well, I don't know. Maybe they don't care. However, they do care because all these games count towards their record for the season, and they're going to want to keep winning. It's not like they're going to bench their best pitchers for this tournament. It's 11 games for each team. I'm sorry, it's 19 games for each team. So no, you are going to want to play and you are going to want to play hard. You can't mail in 19 games. So that will build excitement. If you are a bottom dweller, you are going to have incentive to win, whether it's the knockout round or even if you don't make it to the knockout round. I want to win because I don't want to get relegated. That's what they're playing for. Again, the knockout tournament, they're playing for a guaranteed playoff spot. So, how does this work? What if, okay, I'll use my Orioles example to dream a little bit. What if at the time of this tournament, the Orioles have an 8-game lead in their division and they're running away with it, and they go to this knockout round and they win the knockout round, and we get to the end of the season and the Orioles are the number 1 seed, so they were going to get the number 1 seed anyway. They didn't need this knockout round to do it. That's fair. That's fair. And maybe they didn't. Maybe they earned the number 1 seed through their play throughout the season. Or maybe they come in to the playoffs as the 11th seed. They just made it into the playoffs as the 11th seed. But they did win this knockout tournament. Didn't really matter because they're still in the playoffs. But here's what I want to do. I want to guarantee a number 4 seed to the team that wins the knockout. No worse than a 4th seed. So if you're the best team in baseball, great. You're right. You don't get anything out of it. You earned it through your play during the season. If you're the number 2 seed, you don't get anything out of it. 3 seed, 4 seed, you don't get anything out of it. But if you're 5 through 11, you definitely get something out of it. You get a better playoffs position. If you were a non-playoff team and win the knockout, you get into the playoffs. So it's great either way. What if a playoff team makes or wins the knockout tournament? Well, again, you're still at 11 playoff teams then, but what will happen is, let's say it's a Gold League team that already made the playoffs, but because the Orioles were in the Gold League and they were the number 1 seed anyway, they didn't need this knockout playoff spot. It's simply going to go to the next best team in your league. So the Orioles won it. They already got a playoff spot. The Gold gets 4 teams in it. Well, now they're going to get 5 teams in it. They're going to get a 5th team added. So it's going to benefit your division. That's how I see it playing. And again, for the non-knockout teams, you're still going to want to play hard because there's a chance it will protect you against relegation. At the end of those, at the end of the playoffs for the non-knockout teams, we're just going to look at who overall had the best record and let's give them that protection against relegation. This gives more competitive balance, more chance for small market teams. It is fun. It is World Baseball Classic-esque. I think this would make baseball better, a lot more fun. Let me know what you think about it. All right, one more thing really quick. AEW Dynasty was last night, and it's not one of my favorite pay-per-views normally. I'm going through this wrestling kick, and I don't know if it's because it's WrestleMania season next weekend is WrestleMania. I spent this weekend going back to 1991 into 1992 and watching the 1991 WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and the 1992 Royal Rumble. I'm just so into this old wrestling stuff. And I'm actually writing up some things. I don't know if I'll share it on a podcast, but just from my own research. I mean, this is right when I stopped watching wrestling. I was in college and I just stopped watching it and didn't pick it up again. So I stopped watching it in 1992, didn't pick it up again until about 1998. So I'm going back now and filling in the gaps here. I've got some other gaps in time. I watched it from 1998 to about 2001, stopped watching, and then came back and started watching from 2008 to about 2012, stopped watching again, and then started watching pretty much right after COVID. So I'm filling in some gaps, so I'm really into wrestling right now, and I've got to get up to start watching Raw. But AEW Dynasty was awesome last night. It was a great show. And it started with the 0 hour card, which they have every reason to just throw fluff matches out there. But, it started with Alex Windsor against Marina Shafir. And it was a match that had meaning because, Windsor is either dating or married to Will Ospreay. And then Marina Shafir is with the Death Riders, Moxley's protector. So definitely connectivity there. And it was a really good match. Camille came out and made a statement in a squash match, but it's setting up a feud with Willow Nightingale that you're starting to see play out. Jack Perry came out and defended his national title, which was great. And then the AEW Women's Tag Team Champions put their belts on the line against a young team and Hyan and Maya World. And it was just a really good 0-hour card. But then you get to the main card, and the first match is the Bucks against Okada and Takeshita. And it was a great match. AEW has the best matches in wrestling. But it was also a great story because Okada and Takeshita are all over each other, even though they're on the same family and so forth. This is coming to a head. They're going to fight each other soon for the international championship. And it's just really good story, really good wrestling. Chris Jericho came out and fought Ricochet. Jericho hadn't wrestled since last year's Dynasty. And he gets a huge pop from the Canadian crowd. And he goes out and he puts Ricochet over, which is what you want to do. You want to put Ricochet over. You want to build him up. I'm really starting to like Ricochet. He comes out with the Gates of Agony. They've got a real good thing going here. I love Ricochet's character. He's kind of like a pain in the ass. But by the way, I love Chris Jericho. I bought a t-shirt. I bought a hoodie of his. I went back when I was watching some of this old wrestling. I actually did go back to the later 90s and saw a lot of Jericho's old WCW stuff when he is so much younger and such a prick. Like, he's just such an ass. Love the guy. I'm not saying he's in my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, but he is a very impactful wrestler to me and has a lot of meaning. Darby Allin and Andrade El Idolo came out and had a fantastic match. I think Andrade is finally finding his spot here. He looks awesome right now. And even though he lost the match, he did some stuff in the ring that was just excellent work. And I really hope he gets a push and that he has found his home and that this works out for him in AEW this go round. Edge and Christian came out and battled FTR for the tag team championship. Again, awesome match. Edge got cracked with a belt and it was not purposeful. I think it was Cash Wheeler that grabbed the belt and hit him while the referee wasn't looking. This was not a blade. In fact, I saw Cash Wheeler go up to him afterwards and say something to him. I think it was an apology. As soon as he hit him, Edge busted wide open. But beyond the blood, it was a really great match. FTR retains. Here's a huge one. They had a Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal for the TNT Championship. These Casino Gauntlet matches are always fun to watch because you don't know who's going to come in next. And anyway, the Jet Kevin Knight wins it, which was shocking to me. Absolutely shocking. I would have never guessed that they would have put the belt on him. They put the TNT title on him. Even better, he had to hit a move while his tag team partner Mike Bailey was covering somebody for a pinfall. It was either that or a submission move he had him in. And he knocks him off the guy to get the win. So there's going to be heat between Bailey and Kevin Knight. You can see that coming. Love that. Thekla defended her women's title against Jamie Hayter. This was a very brutal match. I actually felt bad for Jamie Hayter. Thekla looks like a very stiff worker. Hayter took a ton of bumps. At one point, I had headphones on, and at one point, Hayter got a bump outside of the ring, and I heard her say, "I'll need a minute," to Thekla. I mean, she was just getting the shit kicked out of her, and not in a work way. Thekla's just looks really stiff in the ring. Really good match. Moxley, Will Ospreay. I mean, look, Will Ospreay's coming back from what sounds like double neck fusion surgery. I had one fusion done on my neck, and I will never. I can't even just lay on the floor. It's like I see him going out there and taking these brutal moves from Moxley, and they put on a display. Moxley wins. Ospreay's back. I do hope he's okay. I hope when he was like grabbing his hands and stuff like that, that it was all a work. The Conglomeration beat the Dogs for the Trios title. I was a little surprised by this. AEW brought in a guy like David Finlay, who was a pretty hot prospect free agent. They sign him and they give him a belt, but take it away right away. Didn't really understand that, but all good. And then the main event, Kenny Omega, MJF. Good match. MJF wins. He is right to have the title as long as he competes at the frequency he is. This is setting up a MJF title defense against Darby Allin, which is awesome for Darby Allin. Great to see him in that position. Just wanted to say, I thought the Dynasty card was awesome and really looking forward to WrestleMania weekend. All right, everybody, that's a wrap for the show this week. We've got a lot coming up this week. Want to do a WrestleMania preview. I'm hoping to get Kristen and Dustin Bush on for that. I'm recording with Dave Buckler on Friday. We're going to do a preview of the NBA playoffs coming up. I have a rewind sessions coming up, a movie rewind session of a movie I watched last week that I hadn't seen in a really long time, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So a lot of content coming out. Thanks for listening. Again, make sure you click subscribe, whether it's YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure you follow me on social media at TellUsEllisHQ. Email me if you have questions, jamie@tellusellis.com. Until next time, I will see everybody later. Thanks for joining the show.